The cloth conforms to any body type, and you can adjust the current to control the mind of anyone you want to submit to your will. It's my greatest creation yet.
Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another interview on the JayBee and Milly channel. I am JayBee and joining me is Milly.
Hi.
We have Sophie.
Hi.
We have Tore.
Morning.
And joining us as a very special guest who will be interviewed today is Mr. Krist Santos. Welcome and thank you so much for joining.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So it is an absolute honor to have you here today. Of course, the primary reason why we reached out is we saw the amazing involvement that you had with the new movie, Treat Scooby Doo, which was just an absolute delight to watch. And kind of doing some research, checking your Twitter account, your bio describes you as a 2D animator, but do you remember what your first job in 2D animation was?
Well, I started as an in-betweener when I was 15. That was year 2001, I think. Just someone I knew was working in the industry, and I got fascinated because I loved watching cartoons growing up, and it was just for fun though, because those months were my 2-month vacation from school, and I was paid cash back then because they wouldn't want to issue a paycheck to underage artists or provide an ATM for legal reasons. Yeah, I remember we worked on Fairy Tale Police Department and Juanita Jones and Nora. And then I got to be a cleanup artist when I was 18. And we worked on TV series project called I Got a Rocket. And then after college, I became an animator. And my first project to work on as an animator was season 2 of the TV series Curious George. And then from there on, my animation career continued up until now.
Wow, that's incredible. And it's so amazing to hear that you kind of knew what you wanted to do from such a young age. And I know you said that, you enjoyed watching cartoons and everything growing up. So is there any, particular, animated feature that stands out to you as something that inspired you to want to, pursue that route?
Well, I've watched a lot of cartoons when I was a kid, and those made me really, love animation. But there were these 4 animated feature films that I've watched that really made me get into this profession. Those are Sinbad, Legend of the Seven Seas, Prince of Egypt, Treasure Planet, and The Road to El Dorado. And I looked into the names of the animators who did the films, and all of them are great, but I thought I just needed a few names for me to study. So I tried to choose specific scenes from the movies that I thought were animated excellently, and found out the animators behind those scenes. And I came up with James Baxter, Christoph Sarand, and Sergio Pablos. Those are the 3 animators that I always looked up and inspired me.
Awesome. So you have animated for some pretty iconic franchises such as Animaniacs, DuckTales, Green Eggs and Ham. For some of these big franchises, is there an added pressure in terms of like fan expectations?
Added pressure? Well, maybe there is for some animators, but for me, I guess there isn't any because, it never really mattered to me how big the franchise was or how many fans a show I was doing has. My approach to animating has always been the same. I always strive to take a scene or a sequence into its full potential in terms of animation quality. And it really doesn't matter if the show is just new and doesn't have any fans yet, or if the show is already popular and has millions of fans already, for me, the amount of pressure has always been equal for each and every show that I animate.
Well, that's interesting. You commented on Twitter about the challenges of animated characters who are supposed to be static, but are there any types of characters that you prefer to animate?
Actually, I don't have preference when it comes to type of characters to animate, but what I rather prefer to animate is an acting scene over an action scene. I mean, I would take on any type of characters with pleasure, but I always prefer acting animation because I've always enjoyed animating while exercising emotions rather than animating while thinking about just science and physics of movement.
Judging by the trace amounts of propylene glycol, whoever's behind this clearly lacks imagination. So, we can assume their techniques will be primitive. And since ethereal torpedoes don't actually exist, we're looking for some kind of detonation device that was triggered via remote control.
That's amazing, and there's definitely a lot of scope for that within the new movie Trick or Treat Scooby Doo, which has so many characters that can act different scenes out and definitely not stay static as with some of the other characters. But do you recall how you came to work on the Trick or Treat Scooby Doo movie?
Our local studio director was actually the one in charge of the lineup of the animators for the show that we're going to work on. The fact is, there were animators that are lined up for just one specific show, and there were also some animators who were lined up for multiple shows, like me, for example. So when I was working on Scooby Doo, I was also working on other shows like Tiny Toons and the Porky and Daffy movie, and a few test shows.
So that is absolutely incredible to hear that you've done so much work. It's just absolutely incredible. I can't even imagine what that must be like. But of course, you've mentioned watching cartoons growing up and everything. So in terms of your involvement with Scooby-Doo, before that, how familiar were you with the Scooby-Doo movies or the shows or the franchise in general?
Well, when I became an animator, I came to animate on some TV series episodes of Scooby-Doo. So I guess I was quite familiar with it when I got to animate for the movie.
Okay, that's great. Well, we really did enjoy seeing through, through social media and things like that, the amazing clips that you did work on, especially of Coco Diablo. That was one of the, clips that really stands out that we saw that you worked on the animation for. So was that kind of the main extent of what it is you did within the movie, or was there any other, scenes or characters that you animated as well, but you just didn't have the clips to share?
Those were not all of it. There were actually a few more of Coco Diablo scenes that I animated, including the scene that she first appeared and introduced herself. But I just didn't post them because, those were just short acting scenes.
It's great to hear you worked on that, because I think just from the way she introduced herself, her movement, everything, she was a character that everyone certainly really started to appreciate from the first time we did Mia. So what was it like to work on and animate for the movie?
Well, it was really fun. I enjoyed animating and drawing each and every frame of my scenes. And every time I finished a scene, I always sent our studio director a message, and I was like, "Hey, I'm done. Give me some more." As in right now.
Are you
Yeah.
given any sort of like materials or preparation before you start animating?
Well, our standard protocol is the client first sends us all the necessary materials, such as the storyboards, the animatic reel, the model designs for the characters, props, effects, backgrounds. Then our studio director sets up a what we call a pre-production meeting where all of the departments gather to watch the entire animatic reel and the slideshow of all the model designs, and do a question and answer portion afterwards to just to avoid any problems we might encounter upon working on the scenes. And upon our director handing out scenes to animators, he thoroughly explains what he wants to happen on the scene. That's the main preparation we do.
Yeah. So were you given any sort of direction for Coco Diablo's character?
Well, actually, yeah, it's true that the director gives instruction and direction to the animators upon handing out scenes. But in my case, our studio director has known me and has worked for me for many years. So he has always trusted my decisions and ideas towards my scenes. So when he handed out scenes to me, he was just like, hey, so there are these Coco Diablo scenes I need you to work on. You know what to do. You don't need to, I don't need to tell you. I know I would see what I exactly needed to see. So just do your best.
That's amazing, because when you're watching Coco, you can see how much personality she's got in her animation. How long was there between finishing animation and the movie releasing?
It depends actually on the amount of take twos, but generally after all the retakes are approved, it gets released in about 4 months, give or take.
Well, that's really quick. Upon the release of the movie, it's gone viral, notably your scenes with Coco. What has this experience been like?
Well, I'm very happy about it. I first saw a Coco Diablo cut posted on Facebook by someone, and I didn't know if he were a Mexican or a Spanish, and I didn't understand his caption on his post. But then a friend of mine sent me a link, and when I clicked it, it turned out to be Twitter. And I didn't have an account that time, and it was a post about a cut of Coco Diablo that I animated. And I was very happy reading the comments, and they were nice, and they loved it. But then there's someone who posted a comment saying, hey, that's Dan Haskett's work. And then someone said, hey, that's James Baxter's work. And so I immediately made an account to let them know that I was the one behind it, because the scene may look great to some, but it's totally nowhere near the level of those two great animators. And I felt it shouldn't be associated to such great and well-known animators. So I came forward and told everyone it was me.
How many times must I tell you not to interrupt when I'm with a client?
I mean, that's quite a humble approach to everything, because I guess, like, either way, that kind of scene, the character, and your work on it is kind of cemented in Scooby history forever now. It's absolutely incredible. And you mentioned reading some of the comments, and that's why you made an account to kind of clear the air out of things. I mean, were there any comments that kind of stood out to you as being memorable, or just like your reaction to the opinions, in general?
Although there were many comments that I really loved. They were saying that the quality was high, but that one comment saying that was James Baxter's work. Actually, James Baxter, I look up to him really. So I guess that's the greatest comment that I've heard, that I've read.
Oh wow, that is absolutely incredible. And given like this amazing reception, and of course you being within the history of Scooby now, if another opportunity were to come up to work on another Scooby-Doo project, is that something that you'd be interested in at all?
Yeah, that would be great. I always had fun every time I work on a Scooby Doo, and may it be a TV series or a movie.
That would be great. We'd love to see your animation again. I mean, like we say, Coco Diablo is just a character that just resonated with so many people, and so many people had so many positive things to say. So I guess kind of another question I have for you is, do you have any advice for people aspiring to go into 2D animation?
Yeah. My advice to those who are aspiring to become 2D animators is as early as possible, start encouraging yourself to be open to all kinds of cartoons and not just the style or genre that interests you. I mean, for example, you definitely cannot aspire to be a veterinarian if you're only a dog lover, right? And not into any other animals, right? What I mean is, we animators don't get to choose the show or the specific character that we want to animate. The studio director decides on that. So you cannot tell the director, hey, I hate drawing people, but I love drawing mechanisms. Or I hate drawing mechanical stuff, but I love drawing animals. Or I hate drawing girls. I can only draw hunk superheroes. Or I can't draw animals. I only draw human anatomy. Or, you know, I'm a straight guy. Don't make me animate a gay character. Or I'm a straight woman. Don't make me animate a lesbian character. Or I love drawing animes since I was a kid. So don't line me up in a Western style cartoons. What I'm trying to say is, we animators are like actors, and actors are supposed to be able to play any kind of role. I mean, when you're animating, you're not yourself. You're actually the character. So you should be able to remove yourself from your body and make your body an empty vessel for the character to get into, because it's the most effective way of bringing a character into life. You know, animating to the animating is not just using the science and physics and the principles that you've learned from animation school and applying them to your characters to make them move. Animating is actually giving life to your character, and your lifetime experience of observation of life is what's going to help you to be able to animate a character with the most convincing result. So my advice is, as early as possible, start practicing on drawing everything that you see wherever you go. Draw different kinds of vehicles, planes, ships, bicycles, rocks, trees, splashes of water, fire, different kinds of weapons. Start observing and understanding all kinds of people and animals around you, their races, their age, their personality, their character, the way they think, the way they react, their battle language. Start getting to know them, and not just the animals or people you're interested to be with. You know, a lot of animation schools don't teach that to students. They usually focus on science and physics and principles of body movement. They don't usually tackle how body language manifests from characters based on their gender, age, personality, the situation they're into. So, you know, as early as possible, try to make it your responsibility. So when you finally get into the profession, everything will be easier for you.
That's great advice. And I think, you know, just having that, like you say, that range, that's really important, to have versatility amongst, you know, different types of animation for different projects. It makes your work really stand out. And to that end, you know, we're looking forward for all your upcoming projects as well. So is there anything else that you're working on at the moment that you can share?
Yeah, so right now, just recently, I just finished working on my sequence on Bugs Bunny Builders. And now I'm working on some scenes in Tiny Toons and the Porky and Daffy movie.
So we know you have your new Twitter account. Is there any other places we should be looking to keep up with your work?
My Twitter account, the intention of that was just to clear things up. I mean, I don't intend to show all my work there, but since in just 4 days of joining Twitter, I had 4,000 plus followers. So I guess I could use Twitter to post my shots after it gets released.
Wow, that is absolutely incredible. Congratulations on that as well, because it's so amazing to see how much your work's gone viral, how much people love it. So it's an absolute pleasure to have had you here today. And I guess that kind of wraps us up with the questions. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been an absolute honor to have you here. And of course, thank you so much to Tori and Sophie for joining. It's just an honor to collaborate with fellow Scooby lovers, and we've got Milly back after a bit of an absence, which I'm clearly feeling in my voice right now. So I'm sorry if that's putting anyone off. But yeah, if you do want to see more of these, then please like, comment, and subscribe. And everyone's social links will be linked in the description down below. Please make sure to check all of them out, and we will see you next time.
Dracula. Again. Really, Trevor, can't you design anything other than Dracula?